The ER at 1:47 a.m. carried the kind of fatigue that made everything feel slower than it was. Monitors beeped in steady rhythm. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Rain streaked the glass doors in thin silver lines. 2 hallway beds were occupied by patients waiting on imaging results. A resident leaned against the nurse's station, scrolling through labs with theatrical impatience. Maya Reed moved quietly between carts. She replaced a half-empty suction canister before anyone asked. Realigned airway equipment on the crash cart, noted a mislabeled medication vial, and corrected it without comment. Her charting was clean, minimal, precise. No one noticed. "Careful," a nurse muttered as a monitor alarm chimed in the distance. "The new one jumps at every beep." Sterling, the attending on duty, smirked without looking up. "She's fine. Just soft." Maya heard it. She kept walking. At triage, a patient began coughing sharply. Before the call light fully illuminated, Maya was already there, adjusting the oxygen line, lowering the head of the bed slightly, checking saturation. Her hands moved with economy. When the numbers improved, she stepped back without claiming credit. Soft. That was the word they used. The ambulance bay doors opened abruptly, not with the rush of a stretcher, with boots. A man entered carrying a German shepherd in his arms. The dog's body hung heavy but tense, ribs moving too fast, dark fur slick with rain, and something darker near the flank. The man's hands were steady in the way of someone holding panic in a tight fist. "Help," he said. Not loud, controlled, trained. The triage nurse blinked. "Sir, animals aren't allowed inside." "He's military," the man replied. "He's mine." The dog's head lifted weakly, ears twitching. Maya was already moving. She didn't look at policy. She didn't look at Sterling. She walked past the desk and knelt on the tile beside the dog. "Set him down slowly," she said. The man obeyed without hesitation. The dog's breathing was rapid and shallow. Gums pale, pupils responsive, but stressed. A faint chemical scent lingered around the harness. Smoke, residue, something metallic beneath it. Maya placed one hand gently along the dog's neck, feeling for airway alignment. "Easy," she murmured. Not to the handler, to the dog. The animal's muscles eased slightly under her palm. She checked capillary refill along the gums. Slow, shock beginning. "Pressure wound," she said calmly, noticing blood matting the fur along the flank. "Not arterial." Sterling approached, annoyed. "Maya," he said sharply, "what are you doing?" "She's not a veterinarian," the triage nurse whispered. Maya did not look up. "He's hypovolemic," she said evenly. "Position lateral, elevate rear." The handler shifted the dog carefully. He followed her instructions without question. "Sir," the triage nurse said nervously, "we can't treat animals here." Maya reached for gauze from a nearby supply cart. "Get me oxygen tubing," she said quietly. There was hesitation. Then a respiratory tech handed it over. She improvised a loose placement near the dog's snout, increasing ambient flow without forcing it. The German shepherd's breathing slowed slightly. Not normal, but controlled. Maya pressed sterile gauze to the wound, applying firm, steady pressure. The dog flinched. "Stay," she said softly. The handler knelt beside her, his hand trembling against the collar. "He's trained," the man said under his breath. "He won't bite." "I know," Maya replied. Her voice lowered the temperature of the room. The chaos shrank. She scanned the harness, heavy, too heavy for standard patrol, something rigid under one strap. She didn't touch it yet. She focused on the bleed. "Time of injury?" she asked the handler. 20 minutes, he said. Maybe less. His posture was wrong for a civilian veteran. Too straight, too balanced on the balls of his feet. She registered it, stored it, did not comment. Sterling stepped closer, irritation rising. "This is not a veterinary clinic," he said. "We have human patients." "He is breathing," Maya replied calmly, "and he is bleeding." Security hovered uncertainly near the entrance. 2 hallway patients watched with wide eyes. Maya adjusted the compression angle slightly. Blood flow slowed. "Pulse improving," she murmured. The dog's ears twitched again. His breathing deepened. Small improvement. Real. The handler exhaled for the first time. "Thank you," he whispered. Before Maya could answer, the automatic doors opened again. Administrator Henderson strode in, coat still damp from the rain. "What is this?" he demanded. He saw fur on tile. Gauze, improvised oxygen, liability, not life. "Animals are not permitted inside this facility," he said sharply. "This stops now." Maya did not remove her hands. "He's stabilizing," she said evenly. "You are not authorized to treat a dog." "He's not stable enough to move," she replied. Henderson stepped closer. "Step away." The handler stiffened. Maya met the administrator's eyes for the first time, calm, measured. "He will bleed out if we stop," she said quietly. Henderson's jaw tightened. "You are out of scope and out of line." He turned to security. "Remove her from the floor." The dog's breathing hitched again under the tension in the room. Maya kept her hand steady on the wound. She did not argue. She did not raise her voice. She simply held pressure and waited for someone to choose between rules and a heartbeat. Administrator Henderson stood over the scene like a man surveying damage. "Ms. Reed," he said, voice clipped and cold, "you are outside hospital policy. Step away immediately." Security shifted uneasily behind him. Staff lined the perimeter of the triage bay, not intervening, not supporting, watching. Maya did not remove her hands from the compression point. The dog's breathing was still shallow, but steadier than before. Oxygen tubing rested near the muzzle, fogging faintly with each exhale. "If I release pressure," she said quietly, "he will bleed again." "That is not your decision," Henderson replied. "You are a nurse. This is not a human patient." The handler, Ethan Cole, according to the ID clipped to his belt, tightened his grip on the dog's collar. His hands shook, but not from panic, from control, from effort. "He's federal property," Ethan said, jaw tight. "He's more than that." "Sir," Henderson said sharply, "remove the animal from this facility or we will call animal control." The room shifted colder at that. Maya's eyes flicked briefly to Ethan's posture. Spine straight, weight forward, scanning corners without turning his head. Not a man out of practice. She lowered her voice slightly. What was he exposed to tonight? The question cut through the tension. Exact, not dramatic. Ethan hesitated half a second. "Training exercise," he said. "With what?" Maya asked. Sterling stepped in, irritation rising. "This is absurd," he said. "We are interrogating a dog handler in the middle of my ER?" Maya didn't respond to him. She watched Ethan's face. There was soot along the edge of his sleeve. A faint, acrid smell clung to the harness. Not just smoke, something processed, chemical. She glanced at the dog's vest. One strap had been cut, not torn, cut clean. The remaining straps were tight against the ribcage. "Was he wearing something under the harness?" she asked softly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Standard load. Define standard." Henderson stepped forward again. "Enough. Security." Two guards moved closer, uncertain. Ethan's grip on the collar tightened. "He doesn't move," he said quietly. It wasn't a threat, it was a boundary. Maya adjusted the gauze slightly as fresh blood seeped through the edge. "Pressure holding," she murmured, mostly to herself. She looked up at Ethan again. "Any heat exposure? Flash?" she asked. He didn't answer, but his eyes did. Yes, she registered it. The residue on the harness confirmed it. Fine particulate along the stitching, not street debris. She did not push further. Not here. Not now. She shifted her focus back to the dog's airway. Respiration improving, pulse stronger beneath her fingertips. "Position stable," she said. Sterling exhaled sharply. "This is a liability circus," he muttered. "Call security, remove the animal, and let's get back to actual medicine." Henderson nodded. "Ms. Reed, you are suspended pending review." Maya didn't look at him. She pressed one more reinforced pad against the wound and wrapped it tightly, securing the pressure dressing with efficient movement. "Keep him on his side," she told Ethan quietly. "Do not remove the remaining straps until you have controlled support. Keep oxygen near his muzzle. If he becomes restless, speak low. Do not let him sit upright." Ethan listened as if memorizing coordinates. "Understood," he said. Sterling stared at her. "You're done here," he said flatly. Maya rose slowly to her feet. Blood stained the front of her gloves. She removed them carefully, disposing of them in biohazard. Henderson held out a clipboard. "I am documenting insubordination and unauthorized treatment," he said. "Effective immediately." He pressed a pen toward her. Staff watched, some uncomfortable, some curious. No one spoke. Maya took the pen, signed without reading, no protest, no speech. She unclipped her badge from her collar and placed it on the counter beside the form. "Finish stabilizing him and remove him from the building," Henderson ordered Ethan. The dog lifted his head weakly, breathing deeper now, alive. Maya met Ethan's eyes one last time. "If his gums pale again," she said quietly, "apply pressure exactly where I showed you. Do not guess." He nodded once, a soldier's nod. "Thank you," he said. She inclined her head slightly in return. Sterling crossed his arms. "Next time," he said coldly, "remember this is a hospital." Maya didn't answer. She turned toward the hallway that led to the locker rooms. Behind her, the ER resumed its hum, as if nothing had shifted. But the air had changed. The dog's breathing continued steady against the tile, and as Maya walked away without her badge, she noticed one more thing. The sealed pouch that should have been centered beneath the harness strap was no longer aligned. It was hanging slightly off balance, and no one else in that room had seen it. Security did not grab her. They simply walked on either side of her. That made it worse. The triage bay noise faded behind them as Maya followed Administrator Henderson toward the back corridor. The fluorescent lights flickered slightly overhead. A cartwheel squeaked somewhere in the distance. Her badge had already been unclipped from her collar. The absence felt heavier than the plastic had ever been. Henderson handed the badge to a unit clerk without looking at her. "Deactivate access," he said. The clerk hesitated only a fraction of a second before typing. A soft electronic tone confirmed it. 2:07 a.m., termination processed. At 2 a.m., human language became mechanical. "Violation of scope," Henderson recited. "Failure to comply with direct administrative order. Exposure of facility to liability." He did not raise his voice. He didn't need to. Maya stood still. "May I complete handoff for my patients?" she asked quietly. Henderson blinked, as if the request had not been anticipated. "You are no longer assigned," he replied. "Another nurse will assume care." "There are medication changes pending in Bay 3, she said, "and a post-op monitoring note that isn't updated. That is no longer your responsibility." The words were precise, cold. Maya nodded once. She did not argue. They walked past the triage bay again. Ethan was still kneeling beside the dog. The German shepherd's breathing had steadied into a slower rhythm. The pressure dressing held. When Ethan saw her, something in his posture shifted. "Don't leave," he said. Not loud, controlled, but urgent. Maya stopped just long enough to kneel beside the dog one more time. Security stiffened, but Henderson did not intervene. She checked the gums again, pink returning. "Good. Keep him warm," she said softly to Ethan. "If he starts shaking, don't restrain him. Let him tremor. It helps regulate." He nodded. "Do not remove the harness fully unless you have support, and if his breathing spikes again, keep him lateral, not upright." Ethan's hands were steady now. "Understood." Up close, she saw it more clearly. The ID on his belt did say, "Veteran." but his boots were too new for someone who had left service years ago. The way he scanned the ceiling corners without turning his head was not memory. It was habit, active. His watch face was taped, subtle. She registered it and filed it away. "Thank you," he said again. She rose without answering. Henderson gestured toward the hallway. "Locker room. Collect your belongings." They walked in silence. Staff avoided eye contact as she passed. Some looked sympathetic. Most looked relieved that the disruption was ending. The nurse's station was already returning to routine. Charts were being updated. Someone laughed nervously at something on a phone screen. Maya's steps were even, measured. Her humiliation did not show. She had chosen the dog. She had known the cost. A younger nurse, Lena, stepped out of a supply closet as Maya approached the locker corridor. "Why didn't you just follow policy?" Lena whispered. Not accusatory, confused. Maya paused. Because he was dying. The answer came simple. No defense, no explanation, just fact. Lena looked down. "That's not how this place works," she said quietly. Maya gave a faint nod. "I know." She turned the corner toward the locker room. The hallway felt narrower now. Her access card would not open the side door anymore. She waited for security to badge it for her. The door clicked open. Inside, the locker room was empty. Metal lockers, benches, the hum of ventilation. Maya opened her locker and removed her folded jacket. She moved methodically. No rush, no tears. Her phone buzzed once in her pocket. Unknown number. She ignored it. In the distance, through the thin walls, something shifted. A low vibration. At first it felt like wind pushing harder against the glass. Then the exterior floodlights flared brighter, too bright for rain alone. Maya paused. Security radios crackled faintly from the corridor outside, voices rising, confusion layered with urgency. She stepped toward the narrow window at the end of the locker hallway. Black SUVs glided into the entrance lane in controlled formation. No sirens, no flashing lights, just precision. Doors opened in sync. Men stepped out in dark jackets that did not reflect hospital logos. They moved with measured spacing, not hurried, not chaotic. The exterior doors of Harborview Crest clicked audibly, magnetic locks engaging. Maya felt it in the vibration of the wall behind her. The ER lights flickered once. Overhead the hum deepened. Security radios erupted fully now. "What's happening?" someone demanded over static. Maya stepped back from the window. Her breathing remained steady. In the triage bay, she heard Ethan's voice faintly through the corridor. Boots entered the building. Not running, not shouting, procedural. Maya slipped her jacket on. She did not move toward the exit. She moved toward the sound. Because whatever was happening, it was not about a nurse anymore. And it was not about policy. Not tonight. The radios changed first. Security chatter shifted from routine codes to overlapping voices. Front entrance compromised. Who authorized? Lock status. Engaged. A series of sharp clicks echoed down the corridor. Magnetic locks. Every exterior door sealed at once. The overhead lights flickered briefly, then steadied. In the ER, patients looked up from stretchers. A nurse dropped a stack of discharge papers. "Is this an active shooter?" someone whispered. But there were no screams, no gunshots, no running, just order. Through the glass entrance doors, dark figures stepped inside in controlled formation, boots silent against tile, movements deliberate, no weapons raised, no panic in their posture. They spread without speaking to each other, spacing precise, angles covered, two positioned near the ambulance bay, one at triage, one near the ICU corridor. Security guards hesitated, hands hovering near their radios. One of the newcomers approached the desk calmly. "Stand down," he said. Not loud, not aggressive. The tone carried authority without force. He held out identification. A second man entered behind him, wearing a medical insignia on a subdued patch. Navy. The security supervisor glanced at the credentials, swallowed, and nodded. Administrator Henderson rushed from the central station, coat still damp from rain. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. The Navy medical officer did not raise his voice. "This facility is temporarily secured," he said evenly. "No one leaves." "You cannot lock down a civilian hospital," Henderson replied sharply. "We have critical patients." The officer met his eyes without tension. "Critical patients are the reason we are here." No escalation, just certainty. Henderson opened his mouth to argue again, then stopped when two more men stepped silently into the corridor behind him. They did not threaten, they simply existed. The air in the ER shifted. Patients sensed it. Staff felt it. This was not chaos. This was containment. Maya stood at the corner of the hallway leading from the locker room, half in shadow. Her jacket was still unzipped, her badge absent from her collar. She watched the formation instinctively. The spacing, the line of sight coverage, the way each entrance was accounted for without obvious signaling. Perimeter built in under 30 seconds. She felt the recognition before she allowed it to register. Not law enforcement, not local. Military cadence, controlled insertion. A nurse near the triage desk whispered, "What's happening?" No one answered. The Navy officer addressed the security supervisor again. "We need access to surveillance from Era 130 onward, full corridor sweep, disposal chain included." Henderson stepped forward again. "You need a warrant." The officer didn't look at him. "You need to step aside." There was no confrontation. Henderson's authority dissolved not because it was challenged, but because it was irrelevant. Sterling stood near Trauma Bay 1, arms crossed, trying to maintain composure. "This is unnecessary," he said stiffly. "The situation with the animal has been resolved." The word animal landed wrong. One of the men turned his head slightly. "What situation?" he asked. Sterling hesitated. "A dog was brought in," he said. "It has been removed from clinical priority." The Navy officer's eyes shifted toward triage. "Where is the K9? Not the dog, the K9. Precise language. Henderson blinked. "This is absurd," he said. "It's an animal, a liability issue." The officer turned back to him slowly. "Where is the K9? Across the ER floor, Ethan remained kneeling beside the German Shepherd. The dog lay on its side, breathing steady but guarded. Ethan's posture had changed, less frantic now, more alert. He did not stand when the men entered. He waited. One of the team members approached him without hurry. "Handler Cole," he said quietly. Ethan nodded once. "Status?" "Stable," Ethan replied. "Thanks to her." His eyes flicked briefly toward the hallway where Maya stood. The officer followed the glance. Maya did not move. She remained still, hands visible at her sides. The team lead's gaze passed over staff, over Sterling, over Henderson, then paused. He noticed her lack of badge, her positioning, her stillness. "Who treated the K9?" he asked. Henderson answered first. "She was terminated." The silence that followed was different, sharper, not louder. Not. The team lead's expression did not change, but the temperature did. "That was a mistake," he said calmly. Sterling shifted. "This is out of proportion," he began. "Stand aside," the officer replied, without looking at him. "Do not interfere." No threat, no raised voice. Sterling stepped back anyway. Maya felt the weight of eyes settle on her. She stepped forward from the hallway corner, not defensive, not apologetic, just present. The officer studied her briefly. "You're Maya Reed," he said. "Yes." "We need a statement." She nodded once, but her first question was not about her job, not about the lockdown. "Is the dog stable enough for transport?" she asked quietly. The team lead held her gaze for half a second longer, professional recognition. "Not yet," he replied. The maglocks remained engaged. Outside, the rain continued to fall against the sealed glass. Inside Harborview Crest, the hospital no longer belonged to administration. It belonged to containment, and to a dog that was no longer just a liability. The ER did not return to normal. It froze. Monitors still beeped. IV pumps still ticked. A patient coughed behind a curtain. But the human sound, the small talk, the casual instructions, the sarcasm, was gone. Patients watched the men in dark jackets the way civilians always did when trained professionals entered a room, with instinctive silence. No weapons were drawn, no voices were raised, but the presence alone altered the air pressure. A nurse near triage lowered her clipboard slowly. Another stepped closer to the medication cart, as if proximity to routine might make this temporary. The team lead stood near the center of the ER floor. His posture was neutral, balanced, not aggressive. "Where is the nurse who treated the K9?" he asked. The question was measured, not emotional. Administrator Henderson answered immediately. "We terminated her," he said, defensive tone wrapped in administrative certainty. "She violated policy." The team lead did not react at first, then his head tilted slightly. "That was a mistake," he said. Not louder, sharper. The shift was subtle, but everyone felt it. Sterling stepped forward, trying to reclaim authority. "This situation is under control," he said. "The animal was stabilized temporarily. There is no further threat to the facility." The team lead looked at him once. "Stand aside," he said calmly. "Do not interfere." Sterling opened his mouth, then closed it. He stepped back. The command had not been loud. It had been absolute. Henderson attempted to regain ground. "You cannot override hospital operations without jurisdiction." The team lead turned his attention back to him. "You are not the priority." The words landed without hostility, just fact. Across the ER, eyes shifted toward the hallway where Maya had emerged earlier. She stood still, jacket on, badge gone, hands visible at her sides. She did not hide. She did not rush forward either. She stepped into clear view when the team lead's gaze found her. "I'm here," she said. Her voice carried evenly across the floor. No tremor, no defiance, just presence. The team lead studied her, her posture, her hands. The absence of panic. "You treated the K9?" he asked. "Yes." "Explain what you observed." There was no praise in his tone, no accusation, only assessment. Maya walked closer but stopped several feet away, maintaining distance without being told. "The dog presented with acute blood loss and respiratory distress," she said calmly. "Gums pale, rapid shallow breathing, constriction under harness." She paused briefly. "I applied pressure, adjusted positioning, and coordinated oxygen support." The team lead nodded once. "Did you remove any equipment?" "I cut one strap to reduce constriction," she replied. "I did not remove the pouch." A ripple moved through the small cluster of uniformed personnel. The word pouch was deliberate. Sterling frowned. "What pouch?" he demanded. The team lead did not look at him. He kept his focus on Maya. "What did you notice on the harness?" he asked. "Residue," she said. "Soot, fine particulate, not environmental debris." "And the pouch was misaligned." Silence. Even the monitors seemed quieter. Henderson stepped forward again, frustration building. "This is speculation. There is no hazardous material inside this building." The team lead turned slowly toward him. "That is what we are here to determine." A staff nurse near the desk swallowed audibly. Patients were beginning to whisper. A child in a wheelchair stared wide-eyed at the men near the entrance. The team lead returned his attention to Maya. "We need a full statement," he said. "Now." No ceremony, no salute, no gratitude, just necessity. Maya nodded once. Understood. She did not glance at Henderson. She did not look at Sterling. Her focus shifted toward triage where the dog lay. The German shepherd had lifted his head slightly, ears angled toward the voices, breathing steady but guarded. Maya's eyes softened for a fraction of a second. Then she looked back at the team lead. "Is he stable enough for transport?" she asked. The question changed the room again. It was not defensive, not self-protective. It was clinical, prioritized. The team lead held her gaze. "Not until we verify containment," he said. She nodded. "Then we need a quiet room," she replied. "Low traffic, minimal stimulus." Henderson scoffed under his breath. "This is not a kennel." The team lead ignored him. "Make it happen," he said to one of his men. 2 personnel moved immediately toward an unused consult room near ICU. Controlled, efficient, no wasted motion. Sterling shifted uncomfortably. "What exactly are you implying?" he asked the team lead. The answer did not come from him. It came from the weight of the silence. Because no one in that ER could answer the real question yet. Where was the missing canister, and why had the pouch been misaligned? Maya felt it then, the escalation, not explosive, not dramatic, but tightening, like the moment before pressure breaches a seal. She remained still, hands open, voice level, waiting for the next instruction, and for the first time since her termination paperwork had been signed, she was no longer invisible. They moved to a quieter corner of the ER, just outside the unused consult room the team had cleared. The dog lay on a stretcher now, lifted carefully from the tile. His breathing remained controlled. Oxygen tubing still near his muzzle. Ethan stayed at his side, hand steady on the collar. The team lead faced Maya. "Start from first contact," he said. Maya did not dramatize it. "He presented with acute respiratory distress and localized blood loss," she began evenly. "Gums pale, pulse weak but present. Harness constricted around the lower rib cage." She paused, replaying the first moments in her mind. There was residue along the stitching, fine soot, metallic odor, not typical environmental contamination. The SEAL medic stepped closer, listening carefully. "And the pouch?" he asked. "Centered beneath the chest plate," Maya replied. "But it was misaligned when I saw it. The strap over it had tension, too tight for standard fit." Ethan's jaw flexed. Maya continued. "When I applied pressure to the wound, the dog flinched beyond pain response. There was abnormal heat under the vest, not fever, localized." The medic exchanged a look with the team lead. "Did you remove the pouch?" the team lead asked. "No," Maya said. "I cut one strap to reduce constriction. It was compressing circulation." "Could cutting the strap have displaced the pouch?" he pressed. "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "It may have shifted when the tension released." Silence followed. Not accusatory. Assessing. The SEAL medic crouched beside the dog and carefully examined the remaining harness attachments. He lifted the vest slightly, eyes scanning with practiced familiarity. "It's missing," he said quietly. The words landed heavier than raised voices ever could. Henderson, who had followed despite being told to stand aside, stiffened. "Missing what?" he demanded. The team lead turned toward him slowly. "A sealed training canister," he said. "Contained, non-lethal, but regulated." Henderson's expression flickered between confusion and alarm. "What does that mean?" he asked. "It means," the medic replied calmly, "if it cannot be accounted for, federal protocol escalates." The weight of the statement settled across the ER. Not world-ending, not cinematic disaster, but controlled consequence. "If it is unverified," the team lead added, "this facility enters containment status, partial quarantine, review of all disposal chains and ventilation routes." Henderson's face paled. "You cannot quarantine my hospital," he said sharply. "We have ICU transfers, surgeries scheduled. This is a public relations disaster." "This is not about public relations," the team lead replied. Henderson took a step forward. "There will be lawsuits if patients are delayed, media scrutiny, federal overreach." The team lead's gaze hardened slightly. "We are not negotiating optics." No anger, no raised voice, just boundary. Ethan looked down at the dog. I unclipped the pouch for a second, he said quietly. He was thrashing. I thought it was caught. When? The medic asked. Right after we came through the doors. Maya calculated quickly. Time of arrival, triage hesitation, movement from tile to stretcher, disposal bins near triage, biohazard bags open for other cases. She looked toward the hallway where linens and waste carts had been rolling. Which trash bins were active at 0150? She asked. The question redirected the room. Not panic, procedure. A nurse near the desk swallowed. We had 2 trauma disposals open, she said. One for Bay 2, one near triage. The team lead nodded once. We will review the chain, he said. Henderson ran a hand over his face. This is spiraling, he muttered. This never should have entered the building. Maya met his eyes calmly. He would have died outside. The words were simple, not defiant. True. Henderson looked away. Maya turned back to the dog. We need a quiet room, she said to the team lead. Low noise, minimal traffic. He's stable, but stress will spike his heart rate. He's a working animal, Henderson interjected. He can handle stress. Maya's tone did not change. He can, but he doesn't need to. The SEAL medic glanced at her, then at the team lead. She's right, he said. The team lead nodded. Move him, he ordered. 2 personnel assisted Ethan in transferring the dog to the cleared consult room. Maya followed, hands visible, movements controlled. Inside the smaller room, the lighting was softer. The door closed. The noise of the ER dimmed. The dog's breathing eased slightly almost immediately. The medic rechecked the harness attachments. Heat signature confirms something was there, he said quietly. The team lead looked at Maya again. You recognized the pouch? Yes. You didn't panic? No. He studied her for a moment longer. You've seen equipment like that before? It was not a question. Maya did not answer it. She adjusted the oxygen flow slightly. Right now, she said evenly, he needs stability. The team lead held her gaze, not out of kindness, not gratitude, recognition, measured, professional. Proceed, he said, and for the first time since she had been terminated, Maya was being trusted again, not because of rank, not because of apology, because her competence had left no alternative. The search did not look dramatic, no weapons raised, no shouting commands. It looked like inventory. 2 men moved down the main hallway with gloves and sealed evidence bags. Another checked the waste staging area near triage. A 4th requested access to the disposal log terminal at the nurses' station. Monitors still beeped. Patients still waited. But the air had shifted from confusion to scrutiny. Remain where you are, a calm voice announced over the internal speaker system. Temporary containment in effect. The word containment traveled fast. A woman in a hallway bed clutched her blanket tighter. A father pulled his child's wheelchair closer to him. Hospital staff exchanged looks that said the same thing. This is because of us. Administrator Henderson stood near the desk, face tight. This is what happens, he said quietly but pointedly, when protocol is ignored. He did not look directly at Maya. He didn't need to. Sterling crossed his arms again, avoiding eye contact. You cut equipment that wasn't yours, Henderson continued. You tampered with federal property. Maya did not defend herself. She stood beside the workstation terminal, scanning timestamps. Check the disposal chute timeline, she said calmly. Henderson let out a sharp breath. You're not directing this investigation. I'm not, she replied. I'm narrowing it. The team lead glanced toward her. Explain. Maya leaned slightly over the screen. Arrival time, 0147, she said. Dog placed on tile, harness cut approximately 0149. She pointed to the log. Biohazard bag opened in triage at 0150 for trauma patient in Bay 2. A nurse near the desk swallowed. That was for the laceration case, she said quietly. Yes, Maya replied, but the cart moved. She turned her head toward the hallway. Which cart was closest to the dog when he shifted? The nurse hesitated. Cart 3, she said. Who signed transfer on cart 3? The nurse scanned the board. Lena. Lena stiffened. I moved it to disposal, she said quickly, but that was after the dog was stabilized. Time? Maya asked. 01:53. Maya nodded. The team lead stepped closer. Continue. Maya's tone did not change. When the strap was cut, tension released, she said. If the pouch was unsecured, it could have fallen. Where? Sterling asked, unable to stop himself. Maya glanced at the tile near triage. Under the dog initially, but once he was lifted, anything loose could have been swept with bloody gauze. She looked back at the log, and if it was swept into the open biohazard bag on cart 3, it would now be in the disposal chain. Silence settled. Ethan shifted his weight beside the consult room doorway. I unclipped it, he said quietly. Everyone turned toward him. Only for a second, he added. He was thrashing. I thought it was caught on the vest. The team lead's jaw tightened slightly. And you didn't secure it again? I did, Ethan said. I think I did. Maya watched his face. He believed that, but belief was not proof. The team lead turned toward the waste corridor. Seal the chute access, he ordered calmly. Lock down disposal room. 2 personnel moved immediately. No rush, no aggression, just procedure. Hospital staff watched as if witnessing an audit of their own routine. A nurse whispered, Are we contaminated? No, the SEAL medic replied evenly. We are verifying. Henderson rubbed his temples. This will be a legal nightmare, he muttered. The team lead ignored him. Maya stepped toward the disposal terminal. Cart 3 transfer logged at 01:54, she said. Chute opened at 01:55. She looked up. If the pouch fell into the bag before transfer, it would now be sealed in the first stage containment bin. Sterling frowned. That chute goes directly to central processing. Yes, Maya said, but first stage bags are time-stamped before compaction. The team lead studied her. You're certain? No, she replied evenly, but it's the most probable chain. He nodded once. Proceed. The lockdown announcements repeated overhead, voice calm but firm. Staff tension climbed. A patient began to cry softly behind a curtain. Maya turned her head slightly. Keep voices low, she said quietly to no one in particular. Animals react to stress. Even in this moment, her awareness remained split. Containment and care. Ethan stepped closer to her. I should have secured it, he said under his breath. Maya did not look at him. You stabilized him, she replied. That mattered. The team lead's voice cut through the corridor from the disposal wing. Access granted. Maya exhaled slowly. The most dangerous escalation was not violence, it was uncertainty, and uncertainty was narrowing. She looked at the timestamp again. 01:55. 3 minutes after she cut the strap. 3 minutes of chaos. 3 minutes where something small could disappear into a system built to swallow waste without question. She lifted her gaze to the team lead. It's in the chute, she said quietly. Not dramatic, not hopeful, logical. And for the first time since the maglocks engaged, the direction of the crisis had a shape. The disposal corridor smelled of disinfectant and damp linen. The first stage biohazard room sat behind a steel door with a keypad and a physical lock. A digital log screen glowed faintly beside it, listing timestamps in sterile green numbers. Access restricted, the facility supervisor said, glancing at Administrator Henderson. Policy requires executive authorization for sealed bin retrieval. Henderson crossed his arms. You are not opening that chute without a formal risk assessment, he said firmly. If we break containment and something is missing, the liability multiplies. The Navy team lead stood opposite him, posture unchanged. If we do not verify containment, he said evenly, this entire ER remains sealed. He let that settle. No inbound transfers, no outbound movement. ICU overflow halted until confirmation. The words landed heavier than raised voices. In the distance, an ICU nurse stood in the doorway listening. 2 critical patients were scheduled for transfer within the hour. Henderson hesitated. "You're threatening patient care," he said. "I'm protecting it," the team lead replied. Maya stepped forward, hands visible, voice level. "There's another option." Both men turned toward her. She did not rush. "First stage bins are sealed, but not compacted," she said. "If the canister entered at 0155, it will be in the top layer of the first bag." Henderson shook his head. "You are not qualified to handle federal material." "I'm qualified to follow procedure," she replied calmly. Sterling stepped into the corridor, frustration simmering. "This is above your pay grade," he said. "You've already caused enough disruption." Maya met his eyes briefly. "People die while you argue," she said quietly. "Not sharp, not emotional, just measured." The team lead watched her. "What are you proposing?" he asked. "I lead retrieval under supervision," she said. "Full PPE, 2 witnesses, logged access, no shortcuts." Henderson's jaw tightened. "You were terminated." "Yes." "And you cut federal equipment." "Yes." She did not deflect. The admission hung in the corridor air. The team lead studied her for a moment longer. "You're willing to document responsibility for that decision?" he asked. "Yes." "On record?" "Yes." Henderson looked almost relieved. "That simplifies the internal review," he muttered. Maya did not react. The team lead nodded once. "Proceed with protocol," he said. The facility supervisor entered a code reluctantly. The steel door unlocked with a mechanical click. Maya turned to the nurse nearest the corridor. "PPE," she said calmly. "Gown, double gloves, face shield. No one enters without full barrier." She pointed to 2 staff members. "You witness and log time. You monitor exterior." Short sentences. No wasted language. Sterling watched, silent now. Ethan stood at the end of the hallway, hands clasped behind his back. He did not step forward. He did not interrupt. He watched her. Maya secured the gown, adjusted the face shield, pulled gloves tight over her wrists. Her movements were efficient, steady. The door opened. Inside, the disposal room was sterile and mechanical. Stainless steel surfaces, sealed red bags stacked in bins. She scanned the timestamp labels. 0155, first stage bin, top bag. "Confirm log," she said over her shoulder. "Confirmed," the witness replied. She lifted the bag carefully, placing it onto the examination table. No tearing, no sudden movement. "Cut outer seal," she instructed. The facility's supervisor hesitated. The team lead gave a small nod. The seal was cut. Maya peeled back the outer layer slowly. Bloody gauze, used tubing, discarded gloves. She moved methodically. No flinch, no hesitation. Her breathing remained even behind the shield. "Second layer," she said. "Another slice, more gauze. Then a small, rigid shape beneath the blood-stained cloth." She paused, adjusted her grip, lifted the wrapped object carefully. The pouch, sealed, intact. The medic stepped forward, scanning with a handheld device. "Canister confirmed," he said quietly. "Seal intact." The room exhaled as one. Henderson leaned against the wall, tension draining from his shoulders. "Hazard contained," the team lead said evenly. The maglocks would lift soon. Transfers would resume. Maya sealed the bag again, documenting the retrieval. "Log time," she said. 0241, the witness replied. She removed her outer gloves, then the inner, disposing of them properly. When she stepped back into the corridor, face shield lifted, Ethan's eyes met hers. He did not speak. He did not thank her. He understood. This was not recklessness. It was responsibility. The team lead approached her. "You accepted personal liability," he said. "Yes." You understood the consequences. Yes, he nodded once. You made the correct call. No applause, no ceremony, just acknowledgement. Sterling looked at her differently now, not defensive, not dismissive, recalculating. Maya removed the gown carefully and handed it to disposal. The lockdown announcement began to soften over the speakers. Containment lifted. Patients would move again. The hospital would resume its rhythm. But the choice had been made, and it had cost her something, not because she was wrong, but because she had stepped forward when others would not. The sealed pouch sat on the stainless steel table under fluorescent light. The SEAL medic scanned it again with a handheld detector, then checked the seal integrity strip. No breach, no leak, no deformation. Canister confirmed, he said quietly. Serial matches. The team lead nodded once. Log verification, he instructed. The facility's supervisor entered the timestamp into the digital record. The log updated in sterile green text. ZO241. Recovery confirmed. Containment intact. No applause followed. No visible relief. Just a measurable shift in posture from every person in the corridor. The team lead stepped back into the ER and signaled to security. Lift external maglocks, he said calmly. The faint clicking began again, this time in reverse. Doors unlocked one by one. An overhead announcement followed in controlled tone. Containment review complete. Resume normal operations. The ER did not erupt into noise. It simply exhaled. Patients were repositioned. A hallway bed was rolled toward imaging. An ICU nurse began coordinating the delayed transfer. Routine returned in careful increments. Administrator Henderson adjusted his tie and stepped forward. We will treat this as an internal procedural anomaly, he said stiffly. There is no need for documentation beyond federal compliance. The team lead looked at him without hostility. There will be documentation, he said evenly, but not your version. Henderson's jaw tightened. This hospital's reputation is not my concern, the team lead replied. There was no threat in his voice, just a boundary. Henderson stepped back. The SEAL medic secured the canister into a reinforced case. 2 personnel carried it toward the exit with controlled spacing. Ethan remained beside the consult room doorway, where the dog rested on a stretcher. The German shepherd lifted his head slightly when Maya approached, breathing steady now, eyes alert. She checked the pressure dressing again, adjusting the edge slightly. Good boy, she murmured. The dog's tail gave one slow movement against the sheet. The team lead approached her quietly. No staff gathered around, no dramatic audience. You knew how to handle him, he said. It was not a question. Maya kept her focus on the dog's breathing. He trusted calm, she replied. The team lead studied her for a moment. You recognized the harness? Yes. You recognized the cadence when we entered? She did not answer that. He let it pass. We will close the file, he said. No escalation, no press. She nodded once. That's good. He regarded her again. You are no longer employed here. I'm aware. You want that reconsidered? Her hands stilled briefly over the dog's flank. I want better protocol for service animals, she said, and veterans who come in after midnight. The team lead's expression did not change. Noted. He stepped back. Ethan approached her slowly once the personnel moved away. The ER noise was returning to baseline. Monitors, low conversation, carts rolling. Why did you help him? Ethan asked quietly. His tone held no accusation, only confusion. It cost you. Maya removed her gloves and disposed of them properly. He was bleeding, she said. That's it? She met his eyes briefly. Yes. Ethan looked down at the dog. I unclipped that pouch, he admitted. If it had been lost. It wasn't, she replied. You could have walked away. I didn't. Silence settled between them. The dog shifted closer to her hand. Across the ER, Sterling stood near the nurse's station watching. He looked smaller now, not humiliated, just recalibrated. The SEAL medic stepped beside the team lead near the entrance doors. Low voice. Private. Her hands weren't shaking, he said. The team lead did not turn his head. She was holding back. The medic nodded slightly. Not many people can do that. The team lead glanced once toward Maya. She chose not to. Outside, rain continued to fall in thin lines against the glass. The black SUVs remained parked, but no longer dominant. Containment had become procedure. Procedure had become closure. Inside the consult room, the dog's breathing deepened. Stable. Alive. Maya stepped back slightly, giving Ethan space. The ER resumed its rhythm, but not its previous assumptions, and though no one said it aloud, everyone understood that the crisis had not been solved by force. It had been solved by calm, and by someone who had already paid the price for choosing it. Dawn did not arrive dramatically. It crept through the tall ER windows in diluted grey, softening the harsh fluorescent glare that had dominated the night. The rain had slowed to a mist. The parking lot shimmered under early light. Inside Harborview Crest, exhaustion replaced tension. Staff moved more slowly now. Whispers returned, but they were different from the earlier sarcasm. Quieter, measured. At the nurses' station, two aides spoke in low tones. "Was she military?" one asked. "I don't know," the other replied. But she didn't look surprised. Maya passed them without slowing. She carried her folded jacket over her arm. No badge clipped to her collar. No one stopped her. Administrator Henderson approached her near the central desk. His posture was adjusted now, less rigid, more calculated. "We may have acted prematurely," he said carefully, "given the circumstances." Maya waited. "We are prepared to reconsider the termination," he continued, "effective immediately. Disciplinary review rescinded." Quietly. There was no apology in his tone, only strategy. "We value our staff," he added. The words felt rehearsed. Maya looked at him steadily. "You value optics," she replied calmly. His jaw tightened slightly. "This hospital cannot afford scandal." "Then don't create one," she said. He opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. The offer remained suspended between them. Rehire, reversal, return to normal. She did not accept. Across the ER floor, the Navy personnel were already withdrawing. The sealed case containing the canister was carried with precise control toward the exit. No speeches were given, no press statements prepared. The team lead exchanged a brief nod with the security supervisor and stepped through the doors as quietly as he had entered. Controlled silence. Containment completed. Ethan stood beside the consult room doorway as the German shepherd rested on a stretcher, bandaged and stable. The dog lifted his head when Maya passed, ears forward, eyes steady. Maya stepped inside one last time. She adjusted the edge of the pressure dressing gently. "Keep him warm," she said quietly to Ethan. "Follow up within 24 hours for infection check." Ethan nodded. "You could have left," he said. "I didn't," she replied. He studied her for a moment. "They were right about you," he said quietly. She did not ask what he meant. She stepped back. Near the exit, a senior Navy medical officer approached her privately. Not the team lead, someone older, composed. He held out a small sealed envelope. "For documentation," he said, "correction of record." She did not take it immediately. "You knew the equipment," he added. "Yes." "You stayed calm." She met his eyes. "That's the job." He nodded once. "No photos," he said. "No," she replied. He left it at that. Maya walked back to the nurses' station. Henderson watched her carefully. "You're declining reconsideration?" he asked. She unclipped the lanyard that had once held her badge and placed it on the counter. "I'm declining ownership," she said evenly. He frowned. "We can improve protocol," he offered. "Yes," she said, "for service animals, for veterans who come in after midnight. Clear guidance, no hesitation. We'll review policy." "Do it," she said. She did not ask for compensation, did not ask for apology, did not ask for acknowledgement. She turned away from the desk. Lena stepped toward her hesitantly. "I didn't know what to do," Lena said softly. "You will next time," Maya replied. Sterling stood several feet away, silent. He did not approach. He did not interrupt. The fluorescent hum continued. Morning shift staff filtered in, unaware of the full story. Maya walked toward the exit. The automatic doors opened without resistance. Outside, the morning air was cool and wet. The black SUVs were gone. Only faint tire tracks remained in the damp pavement. Ethan exited moments later, guiding the stretcher toward a waiting transport van. The German shepherd lifted his head as Maya stepped into the open air. Their eyes met, calm, steady, alive. No command passed between them, no gesture required. Maya inhaled the damp morning air. The hospital lights behind her dimmed slightly as day took hold. She did not look back at the building. She did not look at Henderson standing just inside the glass. She stepped off the curb and into the soft grey morning. Behind her, the dog remained calm on the stretcher, breathing steady, watching her go. And Maya Reed walked forward, not dismissed, not redeemed, simply choosing dignity over permission.